Reviewing 3 books on religion, This Way Out Queer Life and Literature commentator Janet Mason sits down to drink from the silver cup, put on a straight face, and introduce us to A Faithful Son.
Just when I was starting to think that, well, maybe religion gets a bad rap, I was jolted back into reality by reading 3 recent books on the theme of religion, written by queer writers. An article in the Baptist News Global cites Pew Research Center's findings that 62% of people now say homosexuality should be accepted by society. This is 12 points higher than when the same question was asked in 2007, when acceptance of homosexuality stood at 50%. That religion is changing, and so rapidly, is a good thing. We're all spiritual people, and religion does have something to offer. It can use its power to heal rather than to hurt. The first book I read was To Drink from the Silver Cup, From Faith Through Exile and Beyond, Terra Nova Books by Anna Red Sand. As an adult, Red Sand explored many of the same alternative spiritual traditions that have fueled me, such as yoga and the Gnostic Gospels. But since she was raised fundamentalist and encountered discrimination early on, she eventually found a Christian congregation that embraced her whole self. Red Sand, who was raised by missionary parents in the Navajo Nation, is particularly insightful in her analysis of oppression. Red Sand writes movingly about the alternative reality that many, especially those from religious backgrounds, experience. 21, when Stonewall happened in 1969, I was then grieving the end of a guilt-ridden clandestine affair with one of the nurses at the missions hospital. In Straight Face, Greenbridge Press, author Brandon Wallace writes eloquently about the reality of living a dual existence as a gay person who had entered the ministry of a fundamentalist religion that denounced gays. He shows us how this is extremely unhealthy. But he also explores how he felt called to come out of the closet, become his authentic self, and help others, after he read about a gay teen who had died by suicide. While I was reading, all of my past came screaming back at me. I thought about my own suicide attempts, and all the nights I lay in bed and thought about doing the same thing. A Faithful Son is a novel by Michael Scott Garvin that explores the life of a young man growing up gay and fundamentalist in a small town in the South. Boys like me grow up crooked, he writes, and tells us the story of how and why the narrator had to leave the small town and move to Los Angeles. The narrator is devoted to his mother and writes movingly about her final days. Ultimately, he writes not about finding faith in the end, but about the narrator finding himself, and maybe in some ways that is the same thing. These 3 books are a testament to difference. These 3 authors may have all come from fundamentalist backgrounds, but their stories are all different. What they have in common was that all 3 authors were raised in a strong faith that gave them something, but to preserve themselves, they had to leave. This is Janet Mason with commentary on queer life and literature for This Way Out.